All right. Welcome to day 29 of the Daily Warriors Ritual Challenge. How's it going? I hope all is well. Um, and I hope you're able to stay steady with implementing and consistent. I understand when we're implementing new things in our lives, you know, you kind of feel like a baby, like you're just like being pushed into this new world of, and sometimes it could be confusing and chaotic, and it's good to sometimes be reminded that and realize that we need to be pushed out of our comfort zones, especially when we just so used to the same old, same old. And personally, for me, I've gotten so comfortable with just the repetition of doing something that I've done a million times to the point where I could do it with my eyes closed and still execute as if I was at 100%. It's because I've repeatedly did it, but now it's like it's boring and it's like there's no excitement because I already, I wouldn't say mastered it, but I have done it to the point where I don't, there's not much thought going behind it anymore. So it's like the puzzle to make it where I'm able to guess or not guess, but feel like, oh wow, this is so unpredictable. Like it's not unpredictable anymore because I've got it down to a science of now I know what to expect because I've done basically in any imaginable angle on how to do something. So it's like, what can we do to start changing that in our lives where we can find excitement? Like, yeah, it may be frustrating sometimes to change, but life is about not just doing the day to day stuff that you could just do it without much thought. You know, we need to do things that stimulate us mentally as well as physically, you know, physical action as well. But it's also like we need to be mentally stimulated in a way that helps us keep sharp, you know, sharpen us. What is it going to take for us to stay sharp? I was just listening to, it was like a short clip on, I don't know if it was Instagram, maybe it was TikTok, and they were talking about, I believe it was Einstein, and no, it was Benjamin Franklin. Was it? That doesn't sound right. No, I think it was Einstein. But don't quote me on this. It was someone, it was either Einstein or Benjamin Franklin. I can't really remember, but I remember hearing it had to have been Einstein because Einstein's brain, when he passed, they 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 botched his, they took his skull out and not his skull, but like they removed his brain to study his brain because he was still sharp, even though he was in his 80s. He was still sharp as if he was in his 20s. And utilizing this, I'm not saying that it's going to keep you as sharp as Einstein, but it could. You just never know. So it's like, you know, this is an everyday thing. Um, I would hope you want to be as sharp as Einstein or sharp for yourself, as sharp as you could possibly be. Because I like the idea of being here for as long as possible, but to also keep the young freshness of myself as I cycle through life. The idea of losing the younger parts of myself, it doesn't sit right for me. So this is why I'm sharing that. So just keep that in mind. Like, what, I'm not saying what would Einstein do, but it's more like what should you do to help you keep that freshness about you, but also make sure you keep your experiences that you've gained through living life. But it's like don't forget the parts of you that made you you before you realize these things about life, you know? So I want to speak about, so today I'm going to speak about, I didn't even share what it is that today is about. Um, because that just popped up in my mind. So I just figured, why not speak about that? So today we're going to continue speaking about um, implementing and um, implement and monitor your progress. So every day should be about monitoring your progress. I hope that's, if I didn't make that clear before, I'm making it clear now. Every day, answer 2 to 3 questions every day at the end of your day. Just make sure, maximum minimum three. But if you want to answer more, there's the other videos the days before I've mentioned and spoke about it. So okay. So more on the brain and all that jazz. Um so I listen to a lot of different people. I don't mind if it's someone that's not someone that's hugely known to the world in a big way or not. Like if you have something to say that's definitely captivating, something that helps me think and helps me be able to think about it in a way that I could start applying it, I'm definitely going to listen to you. Even if I don't feel like I could apply it, I'm still listening because like maybe I don't know how to apply it yet, but if I let it marinate for some time, like the answers will come to me. So that being said, I've listened and I've read a few of Dr. Joe Dispenza's book. So if you're not aware of Dr. Joe Dispenza, he is actually an author as well as a neuroscientist, uh, and he's known for other things, but he is best known for his work on the power of the mind to heal the body and create lasting change. So he has lots of videos on online on YouTube. He also has books, like I've mentioned, and he has other things. But if you're interested in Dr. Joe Dispenza and understanding the brain on the brain in a scientific way and learning how to utilize the power of your brain and stuff like that, he's definitely a great starting point. He's not the only place to go, by the way, because there's no such thing as just one way to do something. There's many ways. There's many teachers that speaks about this, but today I'm speaking about Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. So, so why I speak about him and speaking about rewiring the brain, it's just because um, it's possible, and he teaches and he speaks and teaches about rewiring the brain. So here's a few points that I've noted about Dr. Joe Dispenza. So it's possible to rewire the brain and change your thoughts and patterns, change our thoughts and patterns and behaviors. So I'm gonna read this, but I don't know if that makes sense. So I'll just read it anyway. So it says the brain is plastic. Plastic? Yeah, it says plastic, meaning it can be changed and reshaped through our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. By consistently practicing new positive thoughts and behaviors, we can create new neural pathways in the brain and replace old negative patterns with new positive ones. This process, known as neuroplasticity, can lead to lasting changes in our physical and mental states. The key to rewiring the brain is to consistently practice new thoughts and behaviors and stay focused and committed to creating positive change. So by doing so, we can overcome limiting beliefs and behaviors and create a new reality for ourselves. So in essence of what I just read, speaking about Einstein, the brain, Dr. Joe Dispenza, just to tie it up. Um, this is all about not just changing your life. It goes so much more deeper than that. It's changing your shifting. So let's say you may have been going through some things, and we all go through something in some form or fashion. And let's say something's happened to people you loved, or things are outside of your control, and changing how you not necessarily think, but how you act when it comes to those situations, and staying calm and level minded when it comes to situations that are outside of our control. And all we could do is just watch and wait and be patient. It's essentially the same, not necessarily with our lives, but it's the same when it comes to paying attention to our lives. It's like we have to be so when it comes to us, we have to be vigilant. But when it comes to other people, we cannot impede on anybody else's life. We could just be there and be supportive, and even speak to them, and not necessarily try to persuade them or anything, but just show them a different perspective of maybe what it is that you see based off of whatever it is that they're going through, and give them something to maybe, you know, um, um, give them something to another way to potentially think. So it's like, yeah, you could throw it out there, but it doesn't mean people will listen. But anyway, so when we start changing the neural pathways of our own brain, and it's not just necessarily just changing us as far as just our patterns, it's also changing how we respond to the world, is essentially what I'm talking about. Is like you're changing the way you respond. Like, let's say, for instance, you've been living in survival mode, and you've been dealing with different situations at home or with friends, family, whatever, and you just don't know how to deal with it, and you're just like moments away from potentially breaking down. Like, I'm not saying this challenge is going to absolutely combat all your problems, but it could definitely be a focal point, something that you could pay attention to during times of anguish. And we all go through this. And taking deep breaths, realizing that sometimes things are just outside of a lot of the times, I'll say, things are just outside of your realm of control. And that's just a part of being a part of this world, this universe. It's just a part of it. It's like, we are in control, but then we're not at the same time. And it's just, sometimes it's frustrating, but it's also freeing, just because it's not always so frustrating. It's like, you know what? You just leave it where it is. And sometimes something will come from it and sometimes it won't. But as far as dealing with things, like, you just pray for things to be for the best, regardless of your religion or whatever. Like I've mentioned before, this challenge is for anybody that's willing to change their life. And it's okay to feel uncertain. Just realize that uncertainty doesn't stay forever, and everything comes in cycles. So, um, hopefully this actually helps. I know I kind of went on a tangent. Hopefully it makes sense in a way. So basically, if it doesn't, I want to really tie it up. But what I'm trying to essentially say is, when we commit ourselves to something that we're working towards, whatever it is that we want in our lives. And life is going to, things are going to come in our path, whether it's a distraction, whether it's dealing or circumstances in which we cannot control but have to um, bear witness to, whatever it is. Um, let creating your own routine, ritual, habits be what it is that you focus on more than what it is that you're going through at that moment. And what I mean by that is never suppress yourself, but at the same time realize that you're not completely helpless. You're not helpless. Just because you cannot control that situation, your routines, your habits, how you express yourself in the world, how you hold yourself in the world, like your stature, how do you present yourself? Like these are things we do control, and our habits, our routines, how we speak to people are the things in which we can control. And when you realize and know that, and you start paying more attention to that and start becoming very intentional and doing that, and not so much harboring on the things that may be sad. Not saying to not feel those sadness and feel those moments of emotions. You should definitely feel them, pay attention to them, be aware of them, but don't succumb to them, is what I'm saying. Do not succumb to them. You do have control, you do have power, you're very powerful, and never limit yourself and never let anybody limit your brilliance. And I'll leave it at that. Okay. Um, Learn thyself, love thyself, and I'll speak to you all on day 30 on the Daily Warrior Ritual Challenge. Take care.